What's up, Terabytes? I'm Tara with Tara Simon Studios.
And I'm Coach Jeremy.
And I'm Coach Nikki.
And today we are going to be talking about placement. What is placement? How to sing in proper placement and what that feels like and maybe even doesn't feel like, right? Yes, just all these things. So we were just discussing this before we started recording and what do you guys feel like it should feel like in placement in different registers and maybe what it doesn't feel like too?
I think for me, like there's definitely a sense of vibration wherever the placement is. More prevalent in different placements than others, but it's definitely a sensation that I can feel happening where that placement, whether it be chest, mixed, or head voice, I can feel a different sensation.
Okay.
For me, it's more like if I'm in my chest, then there's a lack of feeling in the head and in this area. If I'm in my head voice, I literally feel it up here, feel the vibrations. And when I'm in my mix, it's more so like here. It almost feels like something coming straight from here.
That's a good visual, actually. Yeah. For me, I do feel a sense of resonance when I sing in chest, and it feels like the way I speak. It's very much the same kind of resonance, and if I put my hand here when I'm speaking, I can feel vibration, and when I put my hand here when I'm singing in chest voice, I can feel it as well. I agree and feel the same as Coach Nikki, though, with that forward placement in mix, how it's just like in the middle of the head and it comes forward almost through your teeth. Yeah. And then in mask, I feel a sense of pressure in my eyes and in my nose, and especially when I'm plugged up and stuffed up, like then I really can feel mask placement very much so there as well. So we're going to define today what the proper placement is and hopefully give you a little bit more clarity on what you could and should be feeling, or maybe what you shouldn't be feeling in regards to chest, mix, and head voice placement. So this is going to address all of them for you guys, and this was a highly requested topic. A lot of you guys in the comments were asking for something like this so that you can try it at home. So because we have both Coach Jeremy and Coach Nikki today, I'm totally going to... Look at you guys are so funny. I'm totally going to use you both. And so Jeremy's going to represent the male populace and Nikki's going to represent the female, of course. And I'm just going to watch lovingly. Now, I may chime in and give a few tips myself, but I think that it's really valuable to get some different perspective, especially when it comes to the male and female voice in regards to all three of these registers. So Coach Jeremy, why don't we start with you first?
Okay.
Give us an example of a chest voice placement, okay? A properly placed one, what you're feeling, and then an improperly placed one and what you're feeling, and then we'll move on from there, okay? We'll do chest and chest for both of you, and then mix and mix, head and head, yeah?
Okay. All right. So a proper chest, I'm just gonna sing an ah or a ha. Ah. I can feel it, a whole lot of vibration down there. That's really low for me, but I can feel the vibration really there. Something that's not necessarily my chest voice. It's not. I don't.
It doesn't sound supported.
Yeah, it doesn't sound. It's not supported at all. It's just kind of just.
It's there. And you know what? It didn't even sound bad though. I mean, these coaches are amazing, by the way, and their technique is pretty impeccable. So it's sometimes hard to do it wrong, right? It's a little harder at times, especially when you're trying to do it wrong for you guys. But do a higher chest note that's correct, and then do that same note that's incorrect, so we can hear on the same note the difference. Yeah. Okay.
Incorrect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're looking for. Okay, so tell me what you felt on the first versus the second.
Well, I had a lot of support from my core on that first one, and then I had the vibration there in my chest. It was there. The second one, I didn't really support it much, so that was why I was, at any moment, it could fall apart. But I still kind of felt a little bit of vibration there, too. So
okay.
It was a change in, like, support.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's change in support, but what's interesting that I liked is that there's a false sense of correctness even on the second one because you feel a vibration there still.
Yep.
Just out of curiosity, is there a difference in the prevalence of the feeling between a supported note and an unsupported note?
Yes, there definitely is. When it's supported, it's a stronger vibration that I feel in my chest voice versus the unsupported is just kind of faint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's good for you guys that are trying this at home. Know that if there's confusion or if you're really not sure if you're feeling something, then it's probably not as supported or as correct in placement as it should be. So then we encourage you at that point to engage your abs more so that you can feel that more supported vibration. And again, Coach Nikki said that she didn't really feel a whole lot even when she supported here. So there's difference in dynamics of the anatomy of people. We're all people. We all have heads and necks and abdomens, but there's differences in all of us, resonation cavities and all of that. So that's why it's good to have different perspectives, because just because you're not feeling a ton of vibration doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong. But if you're not feeling a ton of vibration and you're not really engaging with your abs, well then it could be the latter. It could be what his second note was. And also you go by sound too, because you could clearly hear a difference between Coach Jeremy's first nicely supported note. His vibrato was undulating nice and even versus the second where it was a lot thinner, right? Okay, all right, great. So Coach Nikki, give us an example for you of what a properly placed chest note would be, and then an improperly placed, and let's break down what you're feeling.
Okay, so properly placed would be more like, ah! I feel really open. This feels like a freeway, and I'm pushing from here.
Ooh.
But not supported would be more like, ah! This feels really tight.
I saw it too, actually. Yeah.
And you can see the tension. So I can't control that. Like you said, you don't know if it's what's gonna happen. But when it's from here, this is like a freeway.
I love that example. That's a beautiful example. A freeway, just like no traffic, right? That's awesome. And what I noticed also about your second note was that there was no vibrato. And that's interesting because vibrato is basically your voice thanking you by being relaxed. Yes, thank you. Like that. Yeah. So when you're undulating in your vibrato, there's not a lot of tension, if any. But when she had jaw tension and throat tension, there in their second note, there was no vibrato. And that's also somewhat of an indication. If you do sing with vibrato and there isn't any, that's an indicator of tension there. Now, if you don't know how to sing with vibrato, then don't worry about that. But if you do have it, that's an indication of tension. So where were you feeling the resonance, or in your case, there wasn't a whole lot?
It's literally like just a free feeling for me. Like I'm not feeling any tension anywhere, and I'm just pushing with my ab muscles from here. That's my chest.
Okay. And when you were not pushing with your abdomen,
it's all up here. All up here. And it kind of goes through my nose a little bit too. Like watch. You can hear it's coming through my nose too.
Okay. Yeah. So the sound is really instead of, it's kind of like a faux mix almost. Like it's resonating from the wrongs. It's still resonating, right? Anytime you make sound, there is resonance somewhere. And that's what's so hard about defining placement, is that you're going to feel a faux sense of correctness because there is a sense of resonance at any time if you're making noise, right? But where and how much you're feeling is directly determined upon the correct placement of your technique. And I really think that Nikki's case is very interesting because she doesn't feel a necessarily a sense of overt resonance here in her chest, but she feels this openness. So that might be the case for you guys. You may be like, I'm doing it wrong, but maybe you're doing it right, and you just feel this sense of openness like Nikki. If your jaw is dropped and you feel a sense of openness and you've got vibrato, or at least you're on pitch in a really nice rounded way, chances are you're singing with correct placement in your chest. Does that make sense? Yeah, I love that. That's really good. Okay, so we're moving on to mix now, all right? Mix. Coach Jeremy, give us an example of what, and if you need it, like sometimes mix is hard to just sing, like rip the band-aid off and sing. So if you need to sing something like a phrase of a song or a melodic line or something, maybe a vocal exercise, that's totally fine to get into it, or you can just rip the band-aid off.
Can you give me an F?
An F. Yes, there's your F. That's beautiful. You just ripped that band-aid off. All right. Well, okay. Some people can just do it like that, I guess. It's fine.
And so there, I definitely felt it in that mask. I felt it coming right from there. And it's kind of an element of like covering to it a little bit. That way it's not as heavy and as thick and warm as my chest voice would be. So it's like, it's a lighter sensation because I'm covering it.
Okay. And if you could, are you able to, I guess, point? Is it possible to point to where you feel it, or do you not feel it anywhere?
I feel it right there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
That's where I feel. So like if I could drill a hole in my head, it would be like the middle part, like right in there. Okay, so we all feel it in the same spot then there. Interesting. Okay, because mix is a really hard to define register, and therefore it's hard to define the placement, but yet this was 100% like across the board, we feel it here. I will say though, I have had singers that don't feel it there, and they're singing in a great place in their mix, and we'll get into that in a minute, but you felt it in the middle. Okay, so now give us, if you can, an example of what improperly placed mix would be.
Okay, I'm gonna drag a little bit of my chest up a little bit higher, so it's kind of heavier. It's again, it feels less stable, and it's a little bit more heavy than I want it to be. It's not as
that sounds pretty good to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, but if you look closely, you could see the tension and the uncertainty. You know?
Yeah, okay. So where did it feel like for you?
It was more throaty for me. It was definitely more throaty for me.
Yeah, because you were trying to pull up more chest instead of allowing the head to come down and meet.
Yes.
Okay. And for you guys who haven't watched other tutorials, mix is really literally the mixing of chest and head together. And there's different ratios of chest and head depending on where you are in your range. But we like to think of it as a zipper. You have two sides. You have chest and you have head voice. And at the bottom of the zipper, they meet. And then you zip it up and the mix happens. And you zip it down and you decide which one you're going to go to. And so they're great mixers. I will tell you that they're probably better mixers than I am. So I'm glad they're here. But yeah, thanks guys. But yeah, that's an interesting thing. So you were really pulling up too much chest, and therefore it was a heavier note for you to get to in that range. Okay, very interesting. Okay, Nikki, how about you?
So how about me what?
Mix, girl, mix.
Well, all right. And I literally did this with my hand because that's where I envision it coming from, like here. I'm pulling it forward. And that is different than like improper. The improper would, a lot of my students actually take the head and think that head is mixed. So they'll go, but that's head. Right. Or they'll do a strong chest like, and they think that that's
it's like a throaty chest. Right. So that's really, really good actually. A lot of you guys I'm sure do this where you try to make the chest voice sound thinner so it sounds like mixed, but really all that is a strained chest voice. Right. It's like a faux Louis Vuitton, the heck, you know. I mean, sometimes, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do, but we want authentic notes, right? Yeah. So that's a really good point. And it's easier, I think, to hear what too much of a head voice mix would be than it is to define and hear what that chestiness is, because sometimes if well done, a throaty chest mix sounds okay, but it really costs you a lot of vocal dollars.
And you feel it more.
100%. Yeah, like you probably ain't finishing that song if you're doing that in the middle of the song. Go sit down somewhere. Get some water. Exactly. Okay, so that's mix. Yeah, and where did you feel for you? I know that you're kind of weird over there, but like, where do you feel the proper versus the improper?
I feel the proper, like I said, it's here, like it's coming from here. Okay. And the improper, I literally either I'm switching up to head or I'm switching down to chest. Okay. And I feel tension here. I feel tension here. And then another thing, I tell a lot of my students to practice in front of the mirror. And that little, the palate when it hangs down, what do you call that hanging?
The uvula.
The uvula. When the uvula is like going up, and it's like wide open, you can see it going up, and your tongue is like a little bit of a U shape. That is like a good indicator that you have good form to get that mix out. So I imagine you're pulling something from back there for the proper mix.
That's actually an amazing statement that you just made. The uvula, what that really is back there is part of your soft palate. And when you raise that, it's like an inner yawn. Can everybody just try to go, it's contagious, and it's like two things. It's the precursor to a yawn, or like if you got surprised, like if someone threw you a surprise party, you go, it's that. Thank you for joining me. I heard that. Yeah. So that creates so much space in the back of your throat, which then creates this highway or freeway that Nikki said in the chest to let the air come out, and there's no obstruction for the placement, which is really, really valuable information. So that's awesome. Okay, moving on into head voice placement, Mr. Coach Jeremy. Let's decide proper and then improper, any note or whatever you want to do.
Okay. I feel that ringing up in my head. It's up there.
Okay.
An improper one is gonna be a little bit more breathy. It's a little bit. I don't have much control over it. It's much more breathy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear it like a clenching here when you do the second one. Do the first one again for me. Okay. So as you go through, I hear more tone coming in too as your voice kind of calibrates to that note. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying you feel it in your forehead?
Yeah, I feel it's a. Yeah, it's floating up here.
Okay. So that's interesting. And where do you feel the second?
I feel like it's a little bit lower. It feels a little bit lower than that because I'm really restricting how much space I'm allowing up there, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
That's the clench it.
Yeah.
I do hear the clench. And it almost, to me, the second one almost sounds like a strained head mix. Like it's not, it hasn't crossed over the hump yet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So for me, I'll just say that in head voice, I really feel it in my nose, like right in here. And so for you guys, let me know in the comments, do you feel it more in your mask, like in here, or do you feel it like more in the upper part of your forehead, like Coach Jeremy does? Because that's very interesting from a male's perspective.
And it can also change, like, depending on the vowel I choose. Like, if I choose ah that's really open, it floats a little bit higher. But if I go,
good point.
then that becomes a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay.
So it changes.
That's actually really good advice. So if you guys are having a hard time defining the placement of your head voice, or I would think for any register for that matter, but we're in head voice right now. For head voice, I would recommend doing it on a more closed vowel, like an oo or an e, because it forces more pure tone and less breath out, which allows you to have more of an overt feeling rather than an ah or an open mouthed vowel that is kind of, you could go either way because there's more space involved, right? But an o or an e really forces the direction of the tone out in one direction so that you're concentrated in whatever feeling you're going to get, whether it be forehead or mask or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, Coach Nikki, what about you?
So for head voice, I keep feeling it anyway. I tell my students to think of an opera singer, like a big opera singer, and like to do the whole thing.
The whole thing.
It's because it's visual and it's mental.
Yes.
And I feel it more here.
Okay,
that's coming from the same space.
Okay.
But I don't feel any tension here. It still feels really open, and I feel myself contracting here with the controlling the breathing.
Yes.
Same for me.
Yeah.
Same for you? Okay.
So a bad head would be like, I don't know how to do it back.
It's hard. It's so hard.
I saw a little bit of support trying to come from your shoulders there. Yeah, look at all that.
Yeah. So you can see the tension. Me too.
Right.
And what's weird though is that I still kind of feel it in the same area. Like I still felt it around. It was more down here than it was in my nose.
Okay.
But I still felt it here. But the rest of my body was working to get it out, as opposed to when I was, being an opera
It's working harder.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good to know too, guys. So again, we talked about how you're gonna feel resonance somewhere, and it may be still in the right space-ish, but it's not as overt, it's not as much as it could or should be. So if you're kind of feeling something somewhere, chances are you're missing out on support, most likely, okay? And then if you feel that you really are killing it with your support game and the abs are going in and up, kind of like the Heimlich maneuver, then check out yourself in front of the mirror. Is my mouth life right? What am I doing as far as my vowel placement? Am I all the way dropped, or do I have jaw tension here? Is my jaw jutting out? What am I doing? If I'm on an ah, am I here or am I here? Because that's a big difference, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is a lot, okay? This is kind of a longer video, but we really wanted to break it down for you guys because we feel like, this directly affects the kinds of songs that you can sing and the way that you can sing those songs. And we want our vocalists, as they go from good to great in their vocal journey, to make sure that they're knowing what they're doing as they're moving through that vocal journey so that when they do sing more important higher notes, that they're doing it in the right way and that you have a sense of what the right way should feel and sound like.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So hopefully this makes sense. And if it doesn't, if you have any questions, comment in the box below. Always let us know. always let us know in the comments box what next you want us to do a tutorial of. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already to the channel. Subscribe and click that notifications button. We also, in our description box, have all sorts of tricks and tools for you and links to help you go on your vocal journey from good to great. There's private lessons. There's an 8-week course. There's Insta reactions. There's all sorts of awesome links. So make sure you check those links out. And we love you. We're proud of you as always. And we will see you guys on the next one. Bye.